Here. Congratulations on everything, by the way.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And very exciting news, coming with you soon. A baby on the way any second.
It is a wild week. Yes, yes. A baby
Wow.
probably coming super early. So trying to figure out all of that stuff with hopping on flights and just figuring all of it out. So yeah.
Wow, that's so amazing. And what joy and so thank you again. So I guess to start off, I'm going to light the ceremonial flame and would love to have you introduce yourself to the audience.
Oh, sure. Sure. I love this. The ceremonial
I
flame.
know, the Olympics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So my name is Jamie Kern Lima. I'm probably best known for being co-founder of a company called It Cosmetics. It is a beauty company that started in my living room, along with my husband, and then eventually one of my best friends. And anyways, had kind of a crazy journey trying to shift culture in the beauty industry and all the things that us entrepreneurs try to do with our big crazy wild ideas.
Yep.
Went through a few years of hearing no from everybody, got down to under $1,000 in our bank account, and eventually started getting yeses, and did 100-hour weeks for 10 years, which I
Yes.
don't recommend, but
Wow.
eventually grew It Cosmetics to one of the largest makeup companies in the country. We sold it to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion, and they made me their first female CEO in the company's 100-plus year history. So it has been a journey, and
Yes.
yeah, a wild journey, to say the least.
So incredible. And you've been such an inspiration for me and so many other women out there. And your story, and even, sharing details of, making some strides, but then getting to a moment where your bank account it's almost empty. And how are we going to push forward, get creative, keep moving forward? And especially, I think, in moments culturally like these where people are in survival mode, and how do we keep pushing forward and advancing? So excited
Yeah.
to talk more. And also we'll
Yeah.
share, so Jamie and I, we are both alums of Columbia Business School,
Yes.
and excited to chat about that. And so I met my partner and business partner, Sayed. We were in the same learning team in the same cluster on the first day of Columbia. So you met your husband and business partner there as well.
I did. Yeah, I was not planning on it.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
like, I'm not dating in business school, like none of that. And yeah, it's wild. We met in statistics class.
No
Uh,
way. That's
yeah,
so
yeah,
funny.
and like not the most romantic way, but
Yeah.
and we're so different in so many ways. And it's so funny because he'd always be like, well, we have such opposite skill sets, like we should,
Yeah.
launch a business one day. And I was like, yeah, that'd be fun. And it was a blessing and a gift in so many ways,
Yeah.
and also so hard. I mean,
Yeah.
so many people are like, never, whatever you do, never launch a business with friends or
My
family.
mother said that. Yeah. Don't
Did
do
she
it.
say that?
Yes.
And then I learned so many reasons why people say that, right? It's like
Yeah.
there's so many just incredible gifts of working with like a friend or a partner,
Yeah.
and then there's so many tough parts of it.
Yeah.
So you and I have that in common.
I know exactly. Navigating through, but we're still speaking. So that's that's
That is
good.
good.
So how are
Yes.
you? How are you doing? And where are you? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I am in Los Angeles in California, right now, and yeah, what a crazy time that we're going through. I think it's been this big mix of, how can I serve? How can I show up? How can
Yeah.
I, help so many people that are really in a tough time right now? And also, all the normal emotions too, of like, okay, new normal, right? For so many of
Yeah.
us. And so there's a lot of evolving and changing, going on too, and
Yeah.
figuring out, what is this time for?
Yeah.
And so it's been wild. We my husband and I are welcoming our second baby via surrogate. So we tried for 10 years and then eventually partnered with
Yeah.
a surrogate we had our
Yeah.
first daughter with, and our daughter, I should say, not our
Great.
first, our only.
Yeah.
And so we are about to have our second with the same surrogate, and who's like a real life angel and amazing. And
Yeah.
but she's over on the East Coast, so we
Okay.
are navigating, hopping on a flight, and figuring out
Over
the
here.
changing hospital rules and all those good things
Yeah.
this
Oh
week.
yeah. Sure.
Um, this week, but super blessed and grateful, just like, to have just praying for safety for everyone, the medical workers, everybody right now. It's just
Yeah.
a crazy time. Yeah,
It
and I
is.
love that you're doing these fireside chats, because I think for so many people, they're at home alone right now, or they're
Yeah.
feeling alone even if they're not alone. And I think like the power of community and of sharing our stories is huge.
It's so huge. And I know for me, felt so kind of hopeless at the beginning of this and not sure, hopeless and helpless, not sure how to connect. And this has been a great way to connect with our community and chat with so many people who can inspire us and help us push through. I think for a while at the beginning, and especially being in New York, I'm looking out my window. I'll show you guys
Yeah, that's
the view so you can see a little bit of New York here.
yeah.
We had the cool flyover today from the Thunderbirds, which was a very cool display today. But being in New York and feeling the immediacy of it, hearing the sirens, it's just so present every day, and you can really feel that grief and take that on. And we do have to keep pushing forward and finding ways to continue to build, and that's so important. So the inspiration from community is so important. And so let's see. So what is mom life like right now? And actually, my little tidbit. I don't have any kids of my own yet, but I was actually one of the first IVF babies from
Wow.
a long time ago. Yeah, in '88. So a little bit of that story there. But what's mom life like right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's I have like a crazy journey. I found out I was adopted when I was,
Whoa.
in my late 20s. I had no
Yeah.
idea all of these things. And so
Wow.
becoming a mom for the first time was a real big deal, because I was like, wow, I'm actually going to bring someone into this world, be related to them, all those
Yeah.
things. And it's been the best thing I've ever done. And it's funny, when I built It Cosmetics, it was, I thought I worked really hard
Yeah.
and like doing 100-hour weeks for 10 years. And, we built up to over 1,000 employees. And so many women would always, and men would always be in my office kind of explaining what they were going through at the time. And I wasn't a
Yeah.
parent the whole time, the whole first decade at It Cosmetics,
Right.
but they would explain like mom guilt and all of these things and trying to figure out balance and all of that. And I always thought that I got it. Like I thought
Yeah.
crystal clear, I understand it. And then I had no idea until
Yeah.
you go through it. I'm like, because I'm thinking like, oh, when I have my daughter, I'm still going to work on my first book, and I'm going to do this and that, and I'm not going to feel mom guilt, because I'm going to be super excited about showing her like how to go after your own dreams and how to chase your dreams and this and that, and then you do it.
Yeah.
And you're
Right.
like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
everything you do is like at the opportunity cost of missing out on something. So it's this wild
Yeah.
emotional challenge
Sure.
to really figure it out, and then also to kind of like just really look at some of those things that are sort of like oppressive in the world of women, in terms of the things that we feel guilty over. And I've got to the point where I just think balance is a lie. I think like if you're always struggling for trying for balance, you're just feeling like a failure all the time. And so I'm in a good place now, and my daughter's almost 2, and I've had fun moments like walking her through because we started It Cosmetics in our living room, and
Yeah.
for 3 years couldn't pay ourselves. And so a lot of times people hear about the business, and they're like, oh, it's a $1 billion company, but it was so many years of hard times. And so one of the cool things I got to do as a mom was, because our office was our living room forever. And then I remember our first actual office that wasn't our living room was the townhome next door. That we finally like had a legit space that wasn't, and then it grew and grew, and we finally opened the doors of the 60,000 square foot office space with, and in Jersey City, and I got to walk my daughter through it, and like she stood on my desk, and it was just a super cool moment. And I'm like, you know, and just like, you know, you work really, really hard. You can do whatever you want to do. And it was one of those cool moments. And so I've had a bunch of those with her, which is really fun too. And just trying to do the best I can and every, you know, be where where you're at is what I'm focused on. Yeah.
I love that, showing her the ropes early and encouraging her. That's fantastic.
Usually when I try to share like life lessons with her, her response is like, Elmo.
And you're like, you're internalizing it. You're getting it. It's all building up. I love it. And so much respect for all of the moms out there right now and parents who have kids at home and are juggling work and kids. And oh my gosh, I don't know how you all do it. So much respect to that. So let's see. So what is your personal definition of self-care, and what are some ways you've been practicing self-care lately?
Yeah, I think I'm figuring, you know, it's funny. I look back, and any entrepreneur especially, I think one of the things that's so tempting is, and numbing, by the way, is like busyness and work addiction. And I realized that I used to think accomplishment was more important than self-care, and self-care was almost like wasting time, right? Which I can't even believe those words are coming out of my mouth right now, but I realized I actually thought that for a number of years in my life. And, you know, in building it and doing 100-hour weeks, and then, you know, it was like just driving so hard that I felt almost like a hamster on a wheel for so many years. And I got to the point where I was doing 250 live television shows a year on QVC. So I'd be in the green room, like in between shows, just pitching Sephora and Ulta and department stores and hiring people and just like, and creating product and just like driving the business. And I probably went a decade like with really no self-care. And it's one of the things that I did wrong, I would say, now that I look back on it. And so for me, it's a very new priority and so important, important. So for me, like I'm actually working now on getting enough sleep, which is a new thing.
Sleep is so big. I struggle with it too. I don't like going to bed. You know, there are too many exciting things in the world going on. That's a big one for me to work on.
Yeah, it is, right? But it's like, and I'm working on shifting my mindset around it, because I used to think it was like wasting time. Right? And it just,
sleep is for the weak, right?
Yeah, and it's just that's just so far from the truth. And I think and every study proves that, right? So so that's a big one. I think also morning routine has been big, and sticking to that. And I think especially in a time of quarantine, to really try to get that that piece in place, I think is so important for mental health too. So I've been working out, which I do not enjoy. I do not enjoy. I have to get up and go straight to working out. Otherwise, I will dread it all day. And
I'm the same way. I just don't really love exercise. I have moments. Once I get there, it's not that bad, but it's getting there.
Yeah. Well, and like sometimes if it's a real tough morning, I will, you know, as a fellow Columbia grad, don't judge me for this because it's super not sophisticated, but like if I really have to get through a workout, I will put on something on the DVR that is like a crazy reality show, and then I'm like, okay, and then the workouts are way easier. So I'll do that.
That's a great tip. I love that.
So if you need to know what's going on like that new Bachelor show, I mean, let me know, because that's how I'm getting through workouts, or the Kardashians or any of those other shows.
Housewives.
I love them. And that's, yeah, Housewives. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm
New
watching the Beverly
season.
Hills one.
I
Yeah.
love
But it's
that.
helping with workouts. So it's
Yeah.
like really worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your go? Are you on the treadmill or elliptical, or what are you doing while you're watching?
Yeah. Elliptical mostly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Just
great.
powering through it at home. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I love these. Okay, great. And let's see. So, how is your mental health and like how are you taking care of it? You mentioned sleep, exercise. Are there any other things? I know for me, those are like kind of the two critical ones, even if it's just something like taking a walk outside, you know, around the block many times right now, or walking over the Brooklyn Bridge. Sleep, and then I'm also talking to a therapist once a week on the phone who's helping me talk through some of these emotions.
Yeah, I think that, I think it's an interesting time. I think
Mhm.
that there's a lot of pressure out there for people to be like hyper productive in this time
Yes.
or those kind of things. And I think there's also obviously a ton of pressure on people losing their jobs right now and people that are managers or leaders of teams. And, I have many of friends who have had to lay off the majority of their entire company already. And it's
Oh,
crazy
yeah.
hard for people right now to get through this. And so I think the most important thing everyone needs to focus on is like first and foremost mental health and
Yeah.
physical health and just making sure those two are their priorities. And
Mhm.
for some people that's a new thing
Yeah.
because so many of us are in this vibe of busyness all the time,
Yeah.
and busyness is like anything else, like anything that separates you from you
Mhm.
is an addiction. It's numbing, and
Yeah.
it's like, whether it's busyness or work addiction or whatever. And so this is for a lot of people the first time that they're just like, oh, okay, here's how I'm actually feeling something. And,
Yeah.
I think it's a really tough time. And I think that it's not any one piece of advice for any one person. I do think mental health and physical health are the most important. But
Yeah.
for a lot of people, they're in a season where, okay, I'm clearly going to have to make some changes in my business. So it's
Yeah.
time to like skill up in
Mhm.
an area where they now have the time. For other people, and a lot of people want to give up right now. It's hard
Yeah.
on a lot of people, but it's like, don't give up, skill up, or faith up. A lot of
Mhm.
people can use this time to really grow in their faith or
Yeah.
health up. Um,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Whether it's
I
mental
love
or
this term. Yeah.
physical.
Health up. Yeah. Faith up. That's a great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so I think it's good. I mean, so that's what I'm focusing on. I just, I um I feel good, but I also feel this great sense of responsibility also to just
Yeah.
serve where I can. So I've been doing a lot to give back in a big way and to really support female entrepreneurs, to support other entrepreneurs, and that's been good. But it's a tough time for a lot of people, and a lot of people are worried right now. And so I
Yeah.
think like that's another reason I really wanted to support your fireside chat too,
Thank
because
you.
I just think like sometimes we feel like we're going through something alone or we're lost.
Yeah.
And on the topic of mental health, by the way, the one other
Mhm.
thing that I did, I use essential oils. I
Oh
love
yeah.
supporting small businesses, and one of my friends, Amber, started plant juice oil, so I've been using those for like stress,
What's the
for
company called?
plant juice oils.
Plant juice. Okay. Plant juice
Yeah,
oil.
so good. And I've been loving that. And then I've also been minimizing the news. And I think that's tough,
Yes.
right? I'll
That's a
like
big
look at
one.
it for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, 5 or 10 minutes another time of day. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Because I think in the start of the pandemic, I think so many people were just like glued to
Addicted.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can really affect your mental health. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I guess my one little piece I'll add to skill up. It was so I with my own personal social media, I've been more timid. I'm still kind of building the confidence to put myself out there, and it's been I think for me something that has helped me a lot during this time was to say, you know what, every day I'm gonna go live and try to connect with people and build my public speaking skills. So this has been a great, I think, learning a new skill. We've got someone on our team is learning to drive. She's going around the parking lot at home, or learning something new. It really can help you feel good right now and build
Yeah.
confidence.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I love too that you're just going for it, right? It's like sometimes we do the thing we're afraid of. It's like, oh, the fear shrinks.
yeah.
And then it's like growth. It's like growth is the best feeling. You know what I mean?
It's a
So,
great feeling. So yeah,
yeah.
Saya dared me. He said, "I dare you to go live every day." And I said, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it in this email we're sending out right now." And now I'm accountable. I have to do it. So it
And you're booking some incredible powerhouse women,
was,
which is amazing. Congratulations on that. Like I
thank
saw
you.
Ariana Huffington this week, like all the different
Yeah,
women who are incredible, like yourself. So
thank
that's
you.
amazing. What a gift to everyone that's part of this.
Well, you're so sweet, and you know, I right now I'm encouraging everyone. Now is a time that people who may have been less available before are maybe more available. So make the ask. You know, push yourself. What's the harm in trying? So
Yeah, I
what are
know. I was on my Instagram, and it's the only platform I'm on right now. My personal
yeah.
Instagram, Jamie Kern Lima, and I saw your team, and you reached out, and I just think like you're so right about that. Yeah, like
Thank
like
you.
everyone should just go for it right now with
Go for
everything.
it. Now is the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk fun. So, what are a couple things that are sparking joy right now? Bringing comfort. You mentioned the essential oil. Is there anything else, or do you have any self care guilty pleasures? Although nothing should really be guilty right now.
Yeah. I'm just loving podcasts. I'm loving books on tape. I'm
Mm.
loving these blankets by a company called Barefoot Dreams that literally are like magic.
Ooh,
Yeah, my friend also told me about this thing that's a hoodie and a blanket combined called a cozy. And I'm like, what, is this cheesy?
amazing.
So I ordered one.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like it's
Okay.
like I don't want to wear anything else ever.
Yeah.
Um,
I've got to
uh,
find this. Okay, Barefoot Dreams.
yeah, and then one of my favorite things, I need to actually do this maybe tonight. I haven't done this in like several weeks, but is like a great bath and some
Mhm.
duckhorn Cabernet. Um,
Oh,
uh,
fabulous.
and they make mini bottles that
Yeah,
are like 2 glasses and yeah, that's like,
perfect.
yeah, yeah. And,
Perfect.
yep.
I love that. Okay, let's talk scent. So, first, do you have like a scent persona, a type of scent you typically gravitate towards?
Yeah, I you know what? I'm the kind of person when I just smell a good scent, I feel like instantly, and you probably know the science behind this, but I
Yeah.
feel like scent impacts your mood and your emotions. And
Yes.
I feel like kind of like with exercise is the same way where you can
Yeah.
actually shift your emotions based on it. And I feel the same way about scent. So I don't have a specific one,
Yeah.
but I know them when I smell them. I'm like, oh, and they're fun. You know what I mean? I feel like
Yeah.
it's almost this way to boost your mood in a way
Yes.
that I find great. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely right on. So, in fact, so scent is the strongest trigger of memory, and we spoke
Mhm.
with a neuroscientist on this. And so, olfactive sensory input goes straight to the amygdala and hippocampus, so the two areas associated with memory and emotion. And so, you're right. You take one whiff, and it can, take you back to a previous memory, or it really can stimulate with just
Previous
that.
boyfriend, all that,
Yes, all of
right?
that. So that leads us to, so definitely impacts mood, but leads us to our next question. So, do you have a particularly strong scent memory that you'd share with us? Some of mine have been the Gap perfume in the 90s, Gap Dream and Gap Heaven. We did a collection that was sort of a riff off that in 90s nostalgia. And then also tennis balls. Um,
Wow.
yeah, my first job in New York was I was a ball girl at the US Open. So I wore the little ball girl outfit and
What an
it smelled.
amazing first job, though.
It was really fun. Yeah,
You're like, I'm where it's happening.
exactly.
That's amazing. Well, a couple things come to mind. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever heard of this, but like my grandma used to have these butterscotch candies, and like they were
Ooh.
in a butterscotch wrapper, and I just have these memories of
Yeah.
that. So now anything butterscotch, I love.
Like a
Um,
Werther's kind of thing.
Kind of, but like
Yeah.
this is like pre-Werther's, like
Yeah.
old school, well, maybe, I don't know how old Werther's is, but these are these clear yellow candies.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
do you know what I'm talking
yes,
about?
yes, yeah,
And in these like wrappers, you know what I mean? That are
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah,
like these
yeah.
yellow wrappers, and they're hard candies.
Hard
Yeah,
candy,
kind of like
yeah.
Werther's, I guess, but yeah, better
But
scratch.
they're more clear. Yes, it's a great
Yeah.
one.
And then like, oh my gosh, memories of scent. Like this is bringing it way back, but I remember this perfume called Exclamation. That
Okay,
was
I
like
remember this.
white with the black exclamation mark. And
Oh,
I
oh, oh, yeah.
like old school, but like, yeah, I remember Electric Youth by, I think it was by Debbie Gibson, the singer.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Baby Soft was like this,
Yes.
right? You know that one?
Loves Baby Soft. Yes.
Really, this is
Yeah.
like old school, but that was like my prized collection
Oh,
way
yeah.
back in the days.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah,
I love those. Those are so good.
so funny.
So what's the latest at It Cosmetics? What have you been working on?
It Cosmetics is oh my gosh. So the mission at It Cosmetics really was like to shift culture and
Hmm.
beauty to, you know, because when we launched, it was like all you saw was magazine ads
Yeah.
of like photoshopped, airbrushed images, and all the
Yeah.
models sort of like had perfect skin. They all looked similar, and this is in the beauty world. And
Yeah.
part of our mission was to change that. Like I have hereditary rosacea, which is
Yeah.
a skin condition with redness, and I would never be able to look at anything I saw on television, online, in an ad and go, oh, I think that product might work, because I never saw anybody that actually had my skin issues. And so,
Yeah.
you know, we've created a company that, I mean, and by the way, part of these first 3 years of no, when we launched our business, was
Yeah.
because at the time, nobody was showing, you know, real women or before and afters or skin
Yeah.
issues or
Real skin.
challenges.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, so we created this line of products that worked, but also,
Hmm.
you know, the very first time we ever got a shot on QVC, which was after hearing no for a few years, you know, we kind of put everything on the line, and I showed my rosacea, and all the experts, the consultants, said not to do this. You know, they're like, you need to use the same type of model. And I'm like, that's not what this, our why is so much bigger than that.
Not
And
authentic. Yeah.
yeah, and so I remember showing my bare face with bright red rosacea, and we showed models of, you know, all different ages and sizes and skin
Mhm.
tones, and that wasn't really being done at the time, and
Yeah.
skin challenges. And you know, we ended up, it was a wild story, but in our one shot on
Genius.
QVC, we ended up selling out, and then just building from there, and eventually getting into all of the retailers. And the thing that's so cool is I look back now, and all of the people, the department stores that all told us no, like
Hmm.
so many department stores told me, you know, if you want to sell makeup to women, you need to use images that are, you know, this type of aspirational beauty that they'll never be able to look like, but they want to. And I'm like, you know, if I'm have a skin issue, how do I know that product is going to work? Like, it was just so
Yeah.
counterintuitive to me.
Right.
And they would always say things like, well, if you're going to show real women images, you know, you need to sell in the drugstores or the mass channels. And I'm like, real women have money too, and they want
Yeah.
really great products. Even if they cost a little more money, they want something that works, and they want to see women that look like them. And anyhow, my point is, eventually, you know, we got that chance on QVC. We kind of risked everything,
Yeah.
showed my bare face with rosé, showed all these different women, um, and then grew from there. And eventually all the no's turned into yeses. And so much now has shifted in the beauty industry. And,
Yeah.
you know, we created 48 shades of our concealer. We continue to use women of every age, skin tone, size, everything. And
Mhm.
what I love now is that is the norm.
Yeah.
And so many of the retailers or department stores that once told me that would never work, now
Hmm.
they're all doing it, and that makes me so happy. um, but I still think there's a long way to go in terms of like shifting culture around the way women look in the mirror and looking in the
Yeah.
mirror and seeing everything that's right, which is everything, and men too. And so the thing with It Cosmetics is, it's now launching into dozens of countries around the world and just growing that mission. And it's been going back and forth between number one and number two largest luxury makeup company in the country,
God.
which just is so overwhelming. Like, to start with an idea, and so
Yeah.
many entrepreneurs out there watching this, it's like when you start with an idea, but no one else really gets it for a while.
Yeah.
As long as in your gut, you still feel like it's your purpose and your mission. Like, I don't think that's an accident. I think it's supposed to be. And I
Yeah.
think if you're like, one of the greatest lessons I learned is like, if you're doing something new or you're doing something in a new way that's never been done before, it's not a surprise that so many experts will like not think it's going
Not
to work
get
because
it.
it's
Yeah.
never been done before. And
Hmm.
so it's kind of a journey of that. And the company is just growing, and it's just wild to think like, wow, one of the biggest brands in the country, but the largest brand in QVC history, and a lot of the retailers, but it all started with all of them saying no for so long. Do you know what I mean? And
And
so,
I'm just great. Yeah, great. I mean, you hear no so many times as an entrepreneur, and
yeah,
there are so many times where you just want to give up and not hear it anymore. I mean, I remember my first summer right after graduating pitching, and I thought, oh, I'm going to raise all of this money and it's going to be no problem. And there I was hauling my suitcase of candles up 6 flights of stairs in July for 70 meetings, and everybody said no. And somebody said to me, I ran into a friend on a bike path. He said, when are you gonna get a job and give this up? And people tell you, entrepreneurs, you believe something so passionately. It's the one thing that is true about the universe that nobody else believes. What is it? And that the experience. And so you've been through, and to persevere, to keep the resilience, and having that faith.
yeah, and I love that
Wonderful
you
story.
shared that. I think I love when people are super transparent and we really like share
Yeah.
all those stories about underestimation and rejection and all of that, because I think like when I was going through it, a lot of times I thought, am I alone? Or
Yeah.
like, it's super easy when everyone's telling you no. And sometimes, by the way, it's like the example you just said. Sometimes it's like friends or family or whoever, and they mean so well, but
Yeah.
like they say something that just like crushes your, you know what I mean? And you're like,
Yeah.
I think that figuring out how to not allow the negativity or the doubt,
Hmm.
or all the no's, like figuring out how to not let that translate in your own head into
Yeah.
self-doubt of your dream. Like, that is one of the most critical things to surviving and staying alive,
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay, we could talk about that for hours. Let's see. So, it starts with a spark. We like to say. So, you started your cosmetics career with beauty challenges on QVC, as we talked about, and these tips we use religiously. Was there a moment where it sparked for you that you could grow this business and really take it far? Was there a particular moment?
I think the biggest moment, was the launch on the QVC, because it was a moment where I had to make a choice between our authentic mission or what we needed to do according to all the experts to
Yeah.
succeed and stay in business. And because they all said, not to do that. And so I think it's one thing to know your why, for your mission, for your business, all that. It's a whole nother thing to actually live it authentically when you might go bankrupt and
Yeah.
you might lose
Right.
everything.
Right.
And so it was really the toughest moment, I think, in my career. And when I look back, I know the reason we sold out, and the reason on QVC in our very first airing, and the reason that we were able to build such a large business is because we didn't veer from our why. And I think that's really important now. Right now, so many people are struggling with everything going on with COVID and, struggling. Do I pivot? Do I change what I'm doing? Do I shift course? And I think that it's super important to consider all those things, but not at the expense of your authentic why. So I think like just because maybe competitors are doing X, Y, or Z and it looks like it's doing really well online or on social, don't make that pivot just out of panic or out of, really check back in, with what your authentic why is before you do that.
That's such a great point, and I think so relevant to so many people right now, especially in the choices we're making. So let's see. So you're the first female CEO in L'Oreal's, I think, 108-year history, which is amazing. So do you have any advice for other female founders looking to grow their business, and anything you wish you could have told yourself when you founded IT Cosmetics?
Yeah, I think if you know, where you want to end up. So if there's other female founders out there, or any founders who eventually want to be acquired, for example, like for us, we thought, we might go public, but I was working 100-hour weeks, as was Paulo, as was Jackie, as was so many of us. And it was like, I was addicted to work, I know now. And when I look back, I think at the time, I didn't even trust myself to go, okay, I've done 100-hour weeks for 10 years. If we go public right now, I'm going to do more than 100-hour weeks for a lot more years, right? But I just cared so deeply about our mission and about spreading it. So for us, the right decision was to partner with L'Oreal because they instantly have incredible people on the ground in, over 100 countries. They can help us spread our mission and grow our mission so much more rapidly than we could do on our own. So that totally made sense. But what I'll say to every entrepreneur out there is when you know where you're going. So let's just say one day you want to sell your company. This is like such critical advice, and so few people do this.
Listen up.
And it can change everything. Literally, this one thing can change everything. If you know you want to be acquired one day, you need to figure out what all those things that are gonna establish value in an acquisition are, and do those things now. And how you figure those things out are you reach out to people who know. So maybe you don't have investors and you don't want private equity, but maybe you can take someone to lunch who's in that world and they can tell you in their last few deals that they've done, here's what stopped the deal, here's what made it happen. What I mean by that is, here's a great example. I learned, and thank goodness we had all of this aligned, but I learned things like, when you're small, you need to make sure, like in a consumer product company like mine, you need to make sure you own your formulas. You need to make sure you own your batch recipes for your formulas, which are very different than the formula. All of these things that when someone is acquiring you, they place value on. And some of these things that if you don't have, you may not get acquired. And it's like, well, how do you know those things? You know it by talking to people who if your end goal is to be acquired, you do your homework and you reach out and you figure it out and you talk to people who can tell you what you need to do now, especially if you're small, right? What you do now, because here's the other thing. There's things you need to have in place in order to be to sell for a lot of money, frankly. There's things you have to have in place that are actually harder to do when you're bigger, right? So let's say you work with 5 different manufacturers. Well, when you're small, you're not as really important to them. And you can say things like, I have to own my formula now. It needs to be in writing, or, my investors are requiring it. It's much easier to do those things when you're small than when you are way bigger and you really matter to them and they don't want to lose you as a manufacturer. And then they don't want to give you your formula because you can go somewhere else. And so it's just one small example, but I would say know where you're going and then backtrack to where you're at and start making sure all those things are in place so that one day it can happen.
Okay, this is some incredible knowledge you just dropped on us, and I see everyone freaking out in the comments here, these insights. Are there any other things you would sort of add that you think were sort of things that maybe surprised you that are valued in an acquisition, types of assets that you can build?
Yeah, I think strong relationships. I mean, I look back and, our journey with L'Oreal started with me, like, just kind of hustling, trying to build relationships at L'Oreal. And
Yeah.
I heard one of the woman who headed all of luxury for North America spoke. Her name was Carol Hamilton. She spoke at an event, and
Oh,
I
yes.
had never met her, and she gave a speech at an industry event where she shared her top 10 favorite products.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of ballsy, and I just wrote a note saying, like, I loved your top 10, but It Cosmetics wasn't in it, and it really should be. And I think if you try it, you'll love it. And I sent her this big gift basket. And that was many years before the acquisition, right?
Wow.
And she and I developed a great friendship and a mentorship. And I would call her for advice. And then she became one of our biggest champions.
Wow.
And over the course of 3 years, frankly, before we ever had the acquisition happen, I think just really making sure, like, if you are wanting to be acquired, really understanding who the right fit is that you want to partner with to acquire you, and then really start planting those seeds of seeing, like, how do you, don't change who you are, but
Yeah.
really point out how you complement their company
Yeah.
and their portfolio, and just really start building those relationships. And it's free to do. That's the thing.
Right.
It's free, and you can do it when you're really small.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, no matter how successful people are, they also want to feel like they're giving back and that they matter. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
when you can show gratitude and for mentorship, it's a gift to them too. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
don't be shy to reach out and reach up when you are a small company, to businesses you hope acquire you.
Yeah, and that's giving me an idea. I wonder if Carol would be a good guest on Fireside Chat. I'll
It'd
have
be
to
amazing.
think about that.
She's
So,
a powerhouse. Yeah, she is a
powerhouse.
powerhouse. Yeah, and she heads, I think, acquisitions right now for North America.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I love it. So this is a perfect segue to our next question. So you're a huge supporter of mentorship programs, and what would you recommend to women in looking for the right factor to find the right mentor, and kind of what's the best way to go about seeking one?
It's amazing. I get so many emails and messages and everything, asking for mentorship. And what I find fascinating is so few people actually go a step beyond that and say how they're going to add value to you.
Yeah.
Right? So few people miss that step. And I think whenever I've been successful in getting mentors in my life,
Yeah.
I authentically and vocally either tell them how I can be of service to them, how I can make their life better, how much it would mean to me if they, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and people don't do that. So most all the requests I get are, can you do this for me? Can you help me? Right? And of course we all want to help people, but there's so many. And I think where you break through is, here's how I can add value to you. And
Yeah.
I make really great pet sweaters, and I'll send you one, but where I need help is, how do I level up in the area of manufacturing? Whatever it is, like
Yeah.
just showing your heart is to be mindful of the person that you're asking their time from.
Yeah.
So few people do it.
Yeah.
So few people do it. And then when you don't do that, you're part of such a large crowd that it's harder to break through. So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
It's a great tip. Okay. Let's see. Last couple quick questions. So any tips for me working with my significant other, Sayed? What's it been like in business with Paulo?
Oh, deep breath, deep breath. I think so many people go into business with friends or family because you trust them, and that is the biggest blessing. What I have learned is, and I'm just going to be super honest with you.
Yeah.
If you can figure this out, that is my prayer for you, because I didn't figure it out, and I thank God every day that I love Apollo and that we are
Yeah.
still married. But what was tough is that we never learned how to set boundaries in terms
Yeah.
of, okay, let's stop talking. We would say, okay, we're going to stop talking about work at eight at night.
Oh,
And
it
then it'd be
never
like,
happened.
it'd be like
It never happens.
8:15. And I would be like, oh, did you hear? Da, 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 da. Or he'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, this, and all of a sudden we're back in work mode. So the
Yeah.
biggest challenge was that the lines were so blurred, and it's so hard to protect your personal relationship from your work relationship. And
Yeah.
we never figured that out. So that would be my prayer for you, is to figure that out so you can protect the thing that really matters most forever.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Great advice. Really great advice. Sayed commented, he goes, oh my gosh. That's great. Okay. So, last thing. So your daily find your fire moment we like to do. Could you share something that you've recently heard from your community that's inspired you?
Oh, so much. The biggest thing inspiring me right now is this idea of, and you can do this virtually, you can do this in so many ways, but this idea of bringing another woman with you. And what I mean by that is all of us live different lives, and but so many women aren't exposed to like the things you are or
Yeah.
someone else is. And I feel like when we shift our mindset, and what I mean by that is, maybe, you're part of a board meeting, and, you ask for permission for someone you mentor to just sit in and
Mhm.
observe it. Or you are going to present at the PTA meeting or something, and you bring someone else with you. Or
Yeah.
so few people do this, and I think that it's so empowering because
Mhm.
proximity is power,
Yeah.
and I think that that is huge. So like I did so I'm wearing a bracelet by
Beautiful.
Valencia Key, and it was a founder, Leah Valencia Key. And it's like, so I get this phone call a couple weeks ago saying, will you come on the Mel Robbins show and fly cross country and go to New York and go on the show? And the show is, we want to tell your story as an inspirational female founder. And, I said yes, and instantly pitched Leah and
So
her
smart.
story to be on the show.
Yeah.
And it ended up turning into, and I was supposed to be one segment of a 5-segment show, and I was going to
Yeah.
be at the end. And what ended up happening within a 48-hour window is
Mhm.
I got on a flight cross country to tape the Mel Robbins show. And then somehow it turned into 4 segments that I was part of. And then Leah got her own segment and was able to share her story on the show. But it's like, you know, we all have this power, no matter, and it doesn't have to be fancy like a Mel Robbins, a
Right.
television show like Mel Robbins, but it can be anything. We're all
Smaller
blessed in,
moments. Yeah.
yeah, we're all blessed in different ways, and I think it's a mind shift around taking another woman with you.
Mhm.
Um, because once you see what's possible in other areas that maybe you weren't exposed to,
Yeah.
it's so powerful. I mean, how blessed are you and I to have gone to Columbia Business School, right? But it's like just even the idea of getting another, bringing another person who maybe didn't have that experience, even just to be able to sit in a class and take it all in. There's
Yeah.
so much we all can do.
Oh
And so
yeah.
that's really inspiring me now, because I think when we shift our perspective around that, I think
Yeah.
it's huge. And by the way, like, let me just tell you, I love Mel Robbins. I was so fired up in the 4 segments I taped,
Yeah.
but I got more joy. I got more joy over like bringing Leah
Yeah.
and watching her shine,
Oh
and
yeah.
watching women. I mean, the whole audience was packed with women crying, by the way,
Oh
right?
yeah.
When she told her story. And I got more joy out of that than me doing segments about me on the mountain, right?
Yeah.
But this is a
Right.
universal human thing. When
Yeah.
we give, it's
Mhm.
like, and when we're of service in that way, it fills our hearts up in ways that are
So
way
much.
more powerful than when we get something for ourselves, right? So it's like, that's what's firing me up right now.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And we're going to think of, it can even be a small thing, sharing your favorite female founded brands on Instagram,
Yes.
and we can all do this.
Yes. And it's
Oh,
free. It's
it's
free.
free.
It's like the most
Exactly.
powerful thing, firing me up. Yes.
Firing you up. I love it. Jamie, thank you so, 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 so much for this
Abigail, thank
time
you.
and wisdom you've dropped on us. So many things I'm gonna think about and start planning out and thinking more deeply. You're so much of your advice is really, I think it's a lot of the stuff that you don't hear from other people. It's real and it's true and it's actionable, and I think that and certainly seeing all the comments here today are things that people really appreciate. So thank you so much for
Thank
bringing it
you.
all and putting it out there for us, and for
Yes.
continuing to inspire.
And
So
congratulations on Otherland. Congratulations on your business. And I am honored to champion you and support you as a female founder. So thanks for having me on.
thank you again, and hope to meet you one day when we're
Yeah.
all together again, and we'll be cheering you on with the little one.
Thank you so much.
So exciting. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Whew. Wow. So many insights, dropping knowledge. I need to rewatch this afterwards. So many takeaways. Right now I'm feeling really energized and just inspired. Like I said, we've got up and down moments, especially here in New York and with everyone. And I think Jamie she her story is incredible, and her resiliency, and as we're all kind of in our own survival modes right now, we can take a lot from her story and the way she was so smart about it, and kept going and believed in it, believed in herself. So I'm really grateful for those insights right now, especially, and we'll wrap them up and share tidbits from the conversation later. So thank you all for your participation and enthusiasm today. I'm just grateful to connect with you all. So take care, be well, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.